I want you to forget every productivity rule you've picked up so far, because most of it is built around the wrong assumption that managing your time means controlling every hour of your day. That's not what this is. What I'm about to show you is something much smaller and much more specific, and it's the reason some people get more done in 3 focused hours than other people get done in an entire day of being busy. The idea is this: everything that actually matters in your day needs to be finished before 10 a.m. Not because early mornings have some special energy to them, because of something happening inside your brain that almost nobody actually explains when they give you this advice. Quick thing before we get into it. This isn't a wake up at 5 a.m. grind harder kind of video. I'm not interested in giving you a mantra to repeat to yourself. What I'm giving you is a real explanation how this actually works, why it works, and how I use it myself, not motivation dressed up as a system. Let's break down exactly how that works. Your brain does not operate at a constant level of capacity throughout the day. This isn't a productivity hack, it's basic chronobiology, and it's been studied extensively. Cortisol, the hormone responsible for alertness and focus, peaks within the first few hours after waking and gradually declines as the day progresses. Decision-making quality, willpower, and the capacity for sustained, demanding cognitive work all follow roughly the same curve. You are, neurologically, a different and more capable person at 7 a.m. than you are at 4 p.m. This means the hours before 10 a.m. are not just convenient, they are your highest value cognitive real estate of the entire day, and most people spend that real estate on the lowest value activities imaginable: checking messages, scrolling, responding to other people's priorities, doing administrative tasks that could genuinely be done at any point in the day with no loss of quality. They're spending their best hours on things that don't require their best hours, and then trying to do their most important, most demanding work in the afternoon, when their cognitive resources are already depleted. Roy Baumeister's research on willpower depletion, controversial in some of its specifics but consistent in its broader finding, showed that decision-making capacity and self-control draw from a resource that diminishes throughout the day with use. Every small decision you make, every minor distraction you resist, every interruption you handle, pulls from the same reserve. By the time most people sit down to do their actual important work in the afternoon, that reserve has already been spent on 100 small things that didn't matter. The 10 a.m. rule is a direct response to this. It says, your best cognitive resource goes to your most important work first, before anything has the chance to drain it. Here's what this actually looks like in practice. And I want to be specific because vague advice doesn't change behavior. The night before, you decide specifically what the 1 or 2 things are that must be done before 10 a.m. Not a to-do list of 15 items. 1 or 2 things that, if completed, would represent genuine progress on what actually matters to you. This decision happens the night before because decisions made in the morning, when you're still half awake and your phone is already calling for attention, are weaker decisions. You're removing the negotiation before it has a chance to happen. From the moment you wake up until that work is done, your phone does not get touched beyond turning off the alarm. Not for messages or for a quick check. Not for anything. The first input your brain receives in the morning sets the tone for the rest of the day. And if that input is someone else's demands, someone else's content, someone else's agenda, you've handed your highest value hours to other people before you've even started your own work. You eat something light or nothing at all before this block, because digestion pulls blood flow and energy toward your gut and away from the kind of sharp cognitive focus this work requires. You drink water, maybe something with caffeine if that's part of your routine, and you go straight into the work. No warm-up scrolling, no easing into it. The work that matters most gets your freshest hour. The specific number, 10 a.m., is not arbitrary, and it's not just a round number that sounds catchy. For most people operating on a relatively normal sleep schedule, the window between waking and roughly 4 hours later represents the peak of the cortisol-driven alertness curve before the mid-morning dip that most people experience. If you're waking around 6 a.m., your peak focus window runs through roughly 10 a.m. If your schedule shifts, the window shifts with it. The principle is what matters, not the exact clock number. But for the average person, 10 a.m. represents the edge of that peak window, which is exactly why it works as a deadline. It's not arbitrary urgency, it's working with your actual biology. What this produces, when done consistently, is something most people don't expect. The rest of your day changes, because the thing that was creating the most background stress, the unfinished important work hanging over you, is already done by mid-morning. Everything after that point operates from a place of completion. Meetings, emails, smaller tasks, social obligations, all of it gets handled with a mental lightness that doesn't exist when the important thing is still looming, unstarted, at the back of your mind all day. There's a concept from Gestalt psychology called the Zeigarnik effect, the finding that uncompleted tasks occupy disproportionate mental space, creating a kind of background cognitive tension that persists until the task is finished. People who leave their most important work for later in the day are carrying that tension through every other activity, whether they're consciously aware of it or not. It's quietly draining their focus from everything else. Finishing the important thing early doesn't just produce the work, it frees up mental capacity for everything that follows. The honest version of this is that the first week of this will feel difficult. Your brain has likely been trained, through years of habit, to ease into the day slowly. Waking up and going immediately into demanding cognitive work without a transition period feels jarring at first. This is not evidence that the method doesn't work. It's evidence that you're breaking a pattern, and breaking patterns is supposed to feel uncomfortable before it feels normal. What makes this sustainable, unlike most rigid productivity systems, is that it doesn't require you to overhaul your entire day. It requires one disciplined window, every morning, protected completely. Everything after 10 a.m. can be flexible, can accommodate the unpredictability of real life, can flex around meetings and obligations and whatever the day throws at you, because the thing that actually mattered is already done. Most people will watch this, agree with it, but they will not change anything about tomorrow morning. That's not a criticism. It's just the predictable outcome of information without implementation. The difference between the person who watched this and forgets it by lunch and the person whose entire trajectory changes over the next year is not understanding. It's the decision, made tonight, about what gets done before 10 a.m. tomorrow. That decision is the whole thing. Everything else is just consistency.